Welcome, Wendy, to the podcast. Wendy, have you covered a Walking Dead episode before? I don't think you have, right?
I'm not sure. In the original, I've definitely done Fear the Walking
Fear.
Dead.
I stick everyone with those.
Yeah.
It's your baptism by fire.
Well, I don't think you have, and I'm glad it's finally time, and it's a really good one. And for those of you who don't recognize Wendy's voice, shame on you. But she hosts a bunch of Podcastica shows, including Dragon Cast, where they cover House of the Dragon.
So good.
The Handmaid's Tale podcast with me and Daphne, and Yellow Jackets WTF, which I think is probably my favorite of all of those. And now we'll be doing The Grove. But before we get into that, I want to mention a couple of things. I can't believe I forgot to mention last time that July 17th was the 15th anniversary of this podcast. Cast of Us, formerly The Walking Dead cast. So yay! Happy anniversary to us.
Congratulations. God, our 10th anniversary was like mid-COVID.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
when we had Angela Kang on for our 400th episode. That was awesome.
Yeah.
And also, I did mention last time that Karen and I are going to be podcasting on a new series together again for the first time in years. I'm super excited about that. It's the upcoming new Vince Gilligan series on Apple TV, and they just put out some marketing stuff for it. So we now know that the show is called Pluribus and that it will drop November 7th. And so if you want to hear that, if you want to hear me and Karen together again, please go ahead and subscribe to the Wax Episodic podcast. I'll put a link in the show notes for that. If you subscribe now, you will hear Randy, Kara, and I podcasting on Alien Earth that comes out in August, and then me and Karen on Pluribus in November.
I'm just gonna say I'm pretty pissed off at Randy, if I'm honest.
Oh yeah, what did you do this time?
Well, last week I was getting set to podcast, right? And like the weirdest shit happened. This car pulled up with a white cross on it, and they fully like put me in the trunk. And I don't want to cast aspersions, but I think Randy could have run quicker to get me. I feel like he only ran a little bit and then was like, oh well, and gave up. And although last week's episode was great, I still feel he could have made more of an effort to save me. And I've only just gotten out of the trunk, so
okay. Well, there's a reckoning to be had at some point in the future. This is all
I think
foreshadowing.
there is. I think there is. Maybe with a pair of nail scissors or something.
But you had a good time, right?
Sure, it was fun in the dark. Smelling a pig's feet. It was great.
All right. Well, I'll let you guys work that out. But in the meantime, It's The Walking Dead, Season 4, Episode 14, The Grove. Wendy, do you want to read the plot summary?
Sure. Tyrese, Carol, Lizzie, and Mika and Judith follow signs to Terminus and come across a cabin where they plan to rest for a few days. Carol and Tyrese grow increasingly worried as Lizzie continues to show a disturbing delusional view of walkers, believing that they're normal and even friendly. Later, after returning with supplies, they find that Lizzie has killed Mika and is about to kill Judith, thinking they'll come back as harmless walkers. Carol and Tyrese agree Lizzie is too dangerous to keep around, and Carol kills her. Carol then confesses to killing Tyrese's friend Karen, which he forgives her for. They leave the cabin and continue on to Terminus.
Dun, dun, dun. So, Wendy, you actually didn't choose this episode. Eric was going to be on, but we bullied you into it. So, but I think it is a favorite of yours, right? Or is it?
No.
It's not. You said you watched it recently.
I watched it recently because I was supposed to do 16. So
you were just getting ready for
I've been following along too. I listened to the last episode. So I think I started maybe 2 episodes ago and just started picking up from there.
Okay.
And I got all the way to the next season, episode 2, because that's what happens. You just let it go. And
I kind of like that it's not one of your favorites, because I was thinking for me, this is like an all-time TV great episode. And I'm like, it would be too easy for us to just sit and be like, yeah, this is excellent. Great. 10 out of 10. So I like this. I like having a critical friend. It's good.
I think it's a great episode. I just think it's kind of like 7-1, where it's not something I go to revisit.
Yeah, it's not a
purpose.
Yeah.
But I think it's a great
Fun.
episode. And I came out of it having more of an appreciation this watch. Like when I was really critically trying to pull it apart.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
Do you know what's funny for me is completely agree about 7-1 and this one, but 5-1 I could watch forever as a pick me up, and some really
Yes.
gruesome stuff happens in it. But I'm like, oh, it just makes me feel so good.
Yes.
Like,
I mean,
agree.
it depends on who the stuff happens to. You know?
Yeah,
Is
I
it
think
our
that's
guys
it, right?
or yep. Mhm.
Yeah.
So, Lucy, what about you? How was it to revisit this one in general?
Oh, great, like great. And once I got out of the car trunk, I've actually been quite sick, so I sat and watched this yesterday while I was sick, and I thought that it was like a short film. I feel like it stands alone as an episode. You almost don't need the wider context of the show. You need a little bit for the Karen and David stuff, but it's like a little standalone
Yeah.
art house film, and just chef's kiss, just really, really good.
Me too. I think it's one of the best Walking Dead episodes, and I always, even right after you saw it, you kind of knew, wow, that was it was shocking and disturbing, and also it just felt like a big deal.
Yeah.
But now, like Wendy, I have, I think, a new appreciation for a lot of the little details and the structure of it. Just getting in really and analyzing the details and stuff.
Like,
So.
I say this about once an episode, so if anyone puts $1 in a jar for every time I say it, you can do that now. Melissa McBride should have been nominated for an Emmy for this show at some point, and I think this would have been one of the best showcase episodes for her because she is outstanding. And Chad Coleman is great in it as well. He shows a lot of range, but she's just, what she does with what could be a really hokey episode is incredible. So yeah, hats off to her.
Yeah. Yeah, they're all good too. The girls, Kyla Kennedy and Brighton Charbonneau, very good child actors, I think.
Do you know what though? I thought the baby was phoning it in.
Yeah, baby is just very method.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not convinced by this performance. I needed more.
I thought the pieces with Carol McBride and Chad together, just the two of them, were the most powerful.
So good.
Yeah, I was thinking about it, and I think it's really more of a Carol episode than anything, because the girls are kind of there, but they're there in large part to give Carol this huge challenge, and to see how she interacts with children after losing a child. And so it's kind of, they're there as a way to show more about her character. And then Tyrese is there kind of to dangle this idea of this possible hopeful future for her, but also then there's this underlying truth of, oh, what if he finds out what she did? So I really felt like it was about her, and I don't remember thinking that before, but this time I felt like it was at least a little bit more about her than any of the other characters, and she can carry that so well. Melissa McBride can totally more than carry that, just knock it out of the park.
And there's a lovely subtext to it as well. I was thinking about this when I was watching it, that in the comics, I think Tyrese and Carol, are they involved briefly in the comics? When Carol's a completely different character, but there's something kind of goes on between them or doesn't go on, and it leads to Carol's death. And I just thought it's quite fun because obviously they're not going there. It's not a romantic episode, but it's funny to have that subtext of what the characters can be in an alternative universe.
I thought, that it wasn't a romantic episode, mostly because Tyrese lost his girlfriend recently. But I thought it was suggesting that the groundwork could be laid for them to end up getting together, right?
I thought I had a very similar kind of thing looking at it. I was like, yeah.
If things go okay here, it could lead to something. That's kind of how it felt to me. But of course it won't. But if in some alternate universe where things on The Walking Dead don't always go to shit, then maybe there would be a chance for them to be a couple.
Yeah.
I didn't really see that at all. Like, I think they're both so freshly hurt that there's no space in it for chemistry. Besides friendship.
It felt similar to me to the vibes with Daryl and Beth a little bit in the previous episode of like, what if we did settle? What if we were here? What would our lives look like? It's like it toys with that idea, maybe a bit more explicitly. It was interesting. It was interesting to watch.
It's just hard to picture Carol and Tyrese deciding, okay, we're going to spend the rest of our lives together. And then like a year or two later, there's no like no suggestion that they would ever be anything more than friends, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe. Okay, let's get into our points. Wendy, want to go first?
I'm just going to rip the Band-Aid off. I propose that Carol killing David and Karen is the same moral parallel as Tyrese and Carol deciding that Lizzie needed to be killed by them right there, right then. And I know that's something like that the podcast has talked about a lot, the killing of Karen and David. And I felt like the fact that they keep bouncing back and forth between the two things was purposeful. The show was doing that purposefully. And I feel like that is what they were saying.
I would like to yes and you. Snap fingers, improv style. Yes, Queen. I think they had to go through what they went through with Lizzie in order for Tyrese to forgive Carol. I think that's how you end up at that end moment, is he sees what it costs her, but he follows her through that logic and like also recognizes that he couldn't do it himself. Because one of the things that makes me laugh a little bit about this episode is the underlying assumption that Tyrese is quite useless. When she's like, you can't do it on your own, and he's just like, yeah, that's pretty true, can't really do it on my own. Like, he's just like,
Fair
yeah,
point.
you're right, like, I am crap.
Well, it's a single person in the apocalypse with a baby.
Exactly. But it's just this idea that Carol's actually the one who's like, I'm gonna go and kill people and stuff. Like, there's never a question that Tyrese would be the one to do that.
That's been his through line. Like, he doesn't want to have to do stuff like that. Yeah.
I don't like going out there. I was intrigued to see how much they laid the groundwork for this is an unescapable decision. And there were bits that I picked up on this time around where, like, the bit where Lizzie's screaming at Carol, like, I could kill you, and what Tyrese learns about her having killed the rats and keeping the mice, and like, they make a very solid case for, like, we are very limited in what we can do here. And of course, I think the big one is she says she was about to kill Judith, and at that point, you're like, this is more than either of us can handle. And in that sense, that threat to life and the threat to the security of the group, which in this case has become a much smaller orbit of a group, is very real. So I'm with you, Wendy. I think it is a direct parallel, and I'd forgotten how entwined the two were with this. Yeah,
I did too. Especially at the end when Carol puts the gun in front of him. I felt like, yeah.
Yeah, I love the way it's all entwined, and I love the way they're sitting there. I don't know if they're actually putting the puzzle together, but they're sitting with this puzzle, and she just kind of casually says that she killed Karen and David. And I think there's a metaphor there of all the puzzle pieces coming together for Tyrese, you know?
Can I tell you something? The director, apparently, the puzzle, were it to be made whole, is actually a picture of Sophia.
Yeah, that's what Melissa McBride said.
And I love that.
And and you'd never know it just looking
that's at going deep
puzzle that's apart. But I did not understand at all why Tyrese forgave her, but you just made it clear. I think you're absolutely right that he, just like you said, saw that she had to go through another similar situation. As both of you just said, you're right, Wendy. I think that she killed Karen and David and Lizzie for the same reason, because she thought that's what she had to do to protect everyone else. And Tyrese saw her go through that with Lizzie, and that's why she forgave her for Karen and David. But oh man, I don't really think it makes sense, because Karen and David were in quarantine, and by going near them, she actually endangered people even more, because she risked picking up the sickness and spreading it around. Also, many other people got sick. Glenn got sick. Herschel got sick. Sasha. Should she have killed all of them? It's the same thing. So it doesn't really make sense to me still that she killed Karen and David, and she keeps insisting still that she did what she had to do, even in this episode. But putting that part of it aside, if you give her the benefit of the doubt and say she did have to do that in order to help save people, then, and Tyrese takes it on that level, then it makes more sense that he would forgive her. Because I was just thinking, why do you forgive her? I would just be like, okay, see you later, lady.
I think the reason why is because of the parallels.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna assume, and of course we don't know because nobody ever really gave us those answers, but I'm gonna assume that Karen and David were past the point of saving. We don't know that. Carol's not a doctor. She doesn't know that, but that's what, you know, we're led to believe is why she made that decision.
Still
And
doesn't make sense. Leave them in quarantine. Let them die there themselves.
I mean, but it doesn't make sense to you, but it made sense to Carol at the time.
I don't care. Anybody can say it made sense to me why I killed so and so, but I don't.
Well, right. There were other courses of action to be taken for both scenarios. And you know, it wasn't the only course of action that they could have done in this situation with Lizzie. You know, they could have done other things and they didn't.
Mm-hmm. But I'm more on board with Lizzie. Just thinking about it, right? Lizzie has some psychological problems, and we talked about this earlier this season that she could get cognitive behavioral therapy and just different kinds of therapies if it was still the civilized world. But they're on the road. They don't have any of those facilities. And Carol's right. She is a danger. She can't be around other people. They can't send her off on her own. So, I mean, I still think it's debatable that you're right. There's maybe some other courses of actions that they could have taken. But I think in this case, it's at least debatable. You know, with Karen and David, in my mind, there's no debate to be had there. Just it's called quarantine for a reason, because they're separate from everybody else to keep the people who aren't sick safe. So
I think it's debatable in both situations.
Okay, well, we'll have to agree to disagree on that.
They could have left her on her own. Like, I don't know if that's the choice I would have made. I don't know if that's a ethical choice.
No, we're agreeing. I'm saying there were other choices with Lizzie.
But I think they could have, you know, given her some supplies, given her the choice, and let her go on her own. Or I think they could have maybe supervised her.
I think you're right, but I think leaving her to go on her own would have been a death sentence for her.
Yes, but it wouldn't have been theirs to carry out. It would have been hers.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Yeah.
But I do think there were other courses of action that could have been done in each case, and I think that's why they're so similar, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I think I guess where you and I differ is there's different courses of action with Lizzie, and it's like, which one is better? It's really hard to tell. There's different courses of action with Karen and David, but one is clearly not better than the others, in my opinion. Like, killing them, not good, because then why not just kill everyone who got sick?
Because everyone who got sick might not have died.
Yeah, I think where I fall down on this, just to put my 2 cents in, I'm with you, Wendy. I think going by the trajectory, and Carol didn't know this, so it doesn't necessarily justify the decision she made then, but in retrospect, the trajectory of the illness was such that Karen and David would have died anyway, because when we see Glenn and Sasha, they're about 2 days behind Karen and David, and they're like a hair's breadth away from dying by the time that the antibiotics come. So Carol didn't know that, but Carol also didn't know that everyone else, how much it had spread already.
Yeah. This seems like a total rationalization to try to defend Carol, because A, she didn't know that they were going to die. Maybe they could have survived. B, if they were going to die anyway, then why kill them?
I mean,
trying to stop the infection beforehand. Well,
also Carol burned them because burning kills the infection. That was my thoughts, and I'm just assuming, and we don't know this because we never were given that information, that when she found them, they were in such a state that she knew they were going to die.
I think she went in there to kill them because they were sick.
I don't think we know that.
Well, we don't know any of this, but we're just speculating, right?
Right.
We're making assumptions. But all we know for sure is that she said she killed them so they wouldn't spread the sickness to other people, even though they were already in quarantine and they weren't asking to be let out, I don't think.
Well, I think she was trying to save the people in quarantine.
It was just them there.
Right.
Yeah. There was only Karen and David in the area where they were.
And in some ways, I felt like Carol killing Karen and David the way she did seemed to be more acceptable because time was a factor with the infection spreading as as opposed to maybe giving a beat before killing Lizzie. You know, like, I mean,
Hmm.
if you go by this, it seemed like they killed Lizzie just hours after the incident happened. And I'm going to say maybe they should have waited and thought about it for a while.
Yeah, I
Probably
can
in
see that.
both cases. And also, like, if Carol felt like killing them was the right move, she should have, killing Karen and David, she should have talked about that with other people as her and Tyrese discussed this before doing it.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I mean, I think with Lizzie and Mika, there's so much room for, oh my gosh, was that really the right thing to do? I don't know. You know, I can't ever see myself being like, yes, absolutely, but I also understand it. But
Mm-hmm.
with Karen and David, I just think she murdered two people for no reason.
I don't
I
think
think
that.
there was a reason, you just don't like the reason.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you could, yeah, I mean, anybody
You don't like
who,
her reason.
yeah,
Which is
like,
fine. I'm not saying like you must like her reason. I'm just saying it wasn't for no reason. It was for a reason that you
well,
don't agree with.
yeah, sort of. I mean, not exactly. I would say that the reason was bullshit. So it's not.
Yeah, you
a
don't
good,
agree with the reason.
Yeah,
Right.
but it's like, okay, I jumped off the roof because I was hungry. It's like that. Like, I don't know
No.
if that's a good reason to jump off the roof. It's not
And
going to
I
help
feel
you.
like she
getting hungry.
does this. Like, just like, you know, if we're going to go to like what's happening in the Daryl Dixon show now, and I'm not going to spoil anything, like, I think
You can. It's okay.
she very much is the ends justifies the means person and has been throughout the series.
Mm-hmm.
She's reckless.
And yes. And
Yeah,
I
no.
felt like this goes right along with that. Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
And I think some of her decisions have been more reckless than others, and some have made more sense than others. And when she endangers Connie when they're inside that cave, it's because she's focused on killing Alpha, and that's more important to her than the safety of other people. And you know, you could be like, well, that's kind of shitty of you, but I also understand where your head is at. Like, you're doing something because you want to get at Alpha. But
Yep.
in the case of Karen and David, it just doesn't, it doesn't, you don't do that. You don't like take two people who are already in quarantine safely and kill them so that they won't infect the people who aren't near them. So I don't think we're going to agree on that. That's okay. Let's move on to Lucy.
Okay, I propose that Mika is the true villain of this episode. She's being a creepy little psycho at points in this episode. I've got examples. For example, the way she talks to Carol, there's something so sinister about it, and I love it. She's like, my mom used to say, like, you're not my mom, Carol. She's also like, I could never kill real people. Looking at Carol, Carol's like, oh crap, I killed real people. She drops Lizzie in it about the dead rabbits. I think she knows what she's doing here. Listeners, this is a joke point. I don't actually think that Mika is evil, but I just enjoyed rewatching it through the image of what if Mika was actually the evil person all
The
along.
mastermind.
I've written R.I.P. Mika. You would have loved Terminus in my notes as well. I think the creepiest bit for me is when she finds the freaking doll and she's like, Rosella Gunderson, and I'm like, that doll is haunted. I do not want that doll anywhere near me. It is very, very creepy. I thought Kyla Kennedy is actually brilliant in this role, but just some of the ways that some of the lines, like, I could never kill people. I'm not like my sister. I'm not messed up. And some of the things that she says, if you read them through the lens of Mika as actually the villain, they become doubly entertaining. Mika's also killing it, though. She literally kills the walker. She's in an interesting position because she's happy to, well, she will kill the walker. She doesn't enjoy doing it, but she will do it. But she does also want to bury the walker. So she's somewhere in between Lizzie's beliefs and Carol and Tyrese's beliefs, but not in a way that would endanger a group. The other thing I thought was very sinister was when Carol basically says you can bury it yourself, and then Mika's like, I think you're gonna help me, in this like weird, like creepy child psychic way. And then Carol does help her, and Mika's like, I knew you would help me. And I'm like, oh, Oh,
like wishing into the cornfield.
literally this.
So
I'm like, I
creepy.
know Lizzie's no picnic, but I'm just gonna go out there and say Mika might
Yeah.
be a bit creepy too. It's interesting, I think, to see her interact with Carol and Carol really trying to save Mika by teaching her to hunt. And they find a much better looking deer than you might anticipate for The Walking Dead, which has bad history with deers looking crap. And Mika can't do it. And we see Mika really turn on Lizzie, saying, you know, these things are bad. They are bad. You can't feed them. And that, I think, is the turning point for Lizzie when Mika is no longer on her side fully. Lizzie says, we could change. I could make you all understand. And I think that is when she starts to think that what she's going to do is prove her point by killing Mika. And she says to Mika, you have to be mean sometimes, but just sometimes. With such a sinister look on her face that I'm pretty sure that's when she's like, yep, you're going down tomorrow. So yeah, I paid more attention to Mika this time round before she died because I think we focus so much on Lizzie, we don't always remember Mika and her character, and they definitely play her as a lot more innocent and a lot more hopeful. You know, she wants to stay in the house. She does a weird little robot routine. R.I.P. Mika, you would have loved drama school. Like, I don't know. She's still quite a young spirit there, but there are some things that she does that I did crack me up when I thought about reading this as like a kind of Ari Aster style little folk horror. I was like, yeah, Mika and Grisella Gunderson are definitely the ones to watch out for here. So sleep well tonight, everyone, thinking about Grisella Gunderson. And remember that Mika said, my mom used to say, everything works out the way it's supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Don't think about creepy children.
Does everything work out the way it's supposed to? I think only
God,
if you
no.
think some things are supposed to be super fucked up, then yes.
Only if you think some things end in infanticide, then yes. Like,
Yeah, and it was as Carol was heading out to kill Lizzie that she repeated that line. Everything turns out the way it's supposed to.
there was another cracker of a line earlier when Carol said to Lizzie, Lizzie, you're dead on your feet. And I was like, yeah, she is. Like,
Yeah, that's awful.
There was a lot of foreshadowing, like when Lizzie
so
asks,
much.
would you miss me?
Yeah.
A couple of different situations.
It is a great little film. Like, honestly, if you watch this, it's such a perfectly encapsulated little horror film, right from the opening shot to the end, the way it's framed, the way it's sandwiched.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yes.
Really
Yeah,
good.
another gem from Scott Gimple.
Yeah.
Well, the director was Michael E. Satrazemis,
yeah.
who
He's done
I didn't.
many Fear the Walking Dead episodes. Yeah,
But he's done some really good Walking Dead ones. He did Evolution, which is Jesus' death. He did Squeeze, which I thought was one of the scariest Walking Dead episodes where they're down in the caves. He did a huge amount in season 8 and 7. I was like, I wish I'd paid more attention to his work as we went. He also did Slabtown, but not everyone can be a winner. But yeah, I thought he did a great job.
I mean, this episode was firing on all cylinders, the directing, the acting, and the writing. But I think if not for the writing, it wouldn't have been a success. You know, you can't.
No.
It's hard to
I like
cover up
Slaptown too.
bad writing.
It looks like he also did the one with Gabriel and Aaron doing the kind of hostage negotiation stuff.
He's done a ton.
He's done a whole heap. Anyway, I thought it was just all of it was great, but I thought some of the visual direction was just incredible. A lot of the shots were framed very beautifully. Anyway, I've diverged from talking about Mika, so shut me up and do your point.
I don't have a point yet, but I just wanted to say, I think, Kyla, I think it's this episode has so many contrasts, and she really stands out as you said, like the innocent, the childlike, the eyes full of wonder, and she kept getting that big smile on her face, you know, with her big eyes. And I thought when she said, I found this, I'm going to name it Griselda Gunderson, that it was pretty cute, you know. And
but then imagine it with creepy music under it.
Yeah,
is it cute
does
anymore?
Seem like it could be in an Ari
fucking
Aster
sinister.
movie. You're right, yeah. But it's funny because Kyla Kennedy and Brighton Charbonneau were in Walker Stalker a lot, and I did panels with them, and I actually did Karen and I did an interview with Brighton Charbonneau right after this episode. Aww. And so I'll put a link in the show notes to that. But anyway, Kyla Kennedy was a trip because she was like she had this whole little web show. I think I talked about it before on the podcast, where
No way.
she would just take one of the Walking Dead actors and totally cut them down, just insult after insult. And she was good at it. And I remember her hanging out with one of the guys on the staff, Nick, who actually put that show together. And she would we'd have little get-togethers, and she'd just sit there and cut him down and have us all cracking up. And it's like not at all what you would think Mika was
Amazing.
like, you know.
You're only proving my point. You're only making it even clearer to me that she's the evil one. Lizzie, come back, all is forgiven.
The start of her villain story.
They're both 22 now, by the way.
No, they're not. That's not true.
They have been acting steadily in TV and movies ever since this.
No.
So go to their IMDb if you want to see what else they
they're like, at most they're 14. Because there's no way that amount of time has passed. I refuse to believe it. No.
15th anniversary. Yay. But I want to do my first point, which is the juxtaposition of the ideal and the horrific. Because that is one thing I really noticed about this episode. It was this tension between the promise of this ideal and then this nagging feeling that it could all just go to shit in a really bad way from the start. It starts off really idyllic with this nice music playing. There's tea steeping in the kitchen. We see Lizzie through the kitchen window laughing and playing outside in this serene, sunny, flower-laden grove. And the camera pans to a bowl of toasted almonds on the counter. And then it pans over to the other window and we see Lizzie frolicking with this Zed. And it's like, oh, it's twisted. And it's just a great opening that encapsulates the feeling of the whole episode. But like the ideal part, the cute girls, the cozy home, the baked, well, was there baked goods? I mean, I think I'm imagining that just because it would have fit right in.
They were making pecan treats.
Pecans. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the Mika's robot dance, which I had totally forgotten about. I am a robot. Come live with me at Terminus. and the doll. And then we also throughout the episode, well, we know the dark truths underneath it, that Lizzie has this serious problem thinking the Zeds are her friends, and also that this big hulking guy Tyrese, who seems to be, you know, taking a liking to Carol, at least as far as trusting her enough to want to stay with her and not go find anyone else, doesn't realize she killed his girlfriend. And so we're hoping against hope they can overcome these problems and have this nice life in this picturesque grove. But it's The Walking Dead, so of course it goes to shit in the bleakest possible way. Like, I would say we should have known, but I don't think any of us expected how bleak it was. Like, that was such a shock that happened. I can't imagine anyone was like, yeah, I think she's going to kill her sister. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe people did.
Oh, no, I think it was super shocking.
Yeah, like, what the hell? But the thing is, like, there's hope dangled in front of us in this episode, and it gets squashed. And that's what this show is, like, hope repeatedly getting squashed until the end, when it doesn't, because they get to this wonderful place, Commonwealth, which isn't so wonderful at first, but they turn it into something. So I just think it just reinforces all the time that this show is about persevering through the bleakest conditions until you can finally get... Even the phrase "look at the flowers" is juxtaposition. It's hard to remember now because you hear "look at the flowers" and you just think, oh, someone's about to get killed. But that's a Walking Dead thing. Like, that's a juxtaposition of something sweet and unassuming and benign with something very dark, because flowers are pretty. And then last comment on all this, I just think this juxtaposition kind of a thing is really fitting for a Carol story, because Carol, as we all know, she presents as this, I mean, often anyway, as this stereotypical, unassuming housewife, you know, nurturing and motherly, but she keeps so much of herself hidden from most people. And in reality, she's way more complicated, and in a lot of ways darker than that. And that just fits really well. Like I said, I think this episode is more about Carol than anything. So it's all sort of just an extension of her, something that looks one way on the surface, but there's a lot more going on underneath. And that's just like thinking about that, all this tension between the appearance or the hope and the reality or the darkness underneath, just made me like this episode anymore, because it plays out on all these different levels.
I think with Carol as well, this is the first time she opens up to the possibility of loving more children after Sophia's passing. And it goes so horribly wrong, and that really informs her character for the next couple of seasons, all the way up to Henry. I think Henry's where it really heals a bit for her, because that's a longer sustained relationship over a longer period of time. But the stuff I was thinking about, things we see in the future, like the way she is with Sam, the hallucination she has of a cookbook with all the children on the front cover, like all the things she's trying to do with domesticity and can never really do again. This is sort of her first, I don't know, burn after that. It's like her first and most profound loss slash killing that she does. And I think
Yeah.
it's going to be really interesting to think about that going forward, because I think for me they'd all kind of merged into one in a way. I'm like, Carol killed a kid and like loses kids. Oh well, that's her character. Whereas now I'm like, oh, this
It
is
hit
like a
hard
big turning
here.
point,
Yeah.
right? Yeah,
Because everything she has developed into is, I mean, she's most shaped, at least from what we've seen, by being abused and getting through that and becoming a stronger person, and also losing a child and having this like really myopic, I would say, focus on, I've got to teach children that they need to be killers. And um, I think there's truth to that. In this world, you need to be ready to kill, but she's a little too focused on kill right away. That's the solution, and then it causes her to miss the bigger picture a little bit sometimes, or even just to deliberately ignore it, like she did with Connie in that situation I was talking about before. And in this case, I'd say this is very debatable, but you could argue that it's almost a self-fulfilling prophecy, that she was telling Lizzie, she taught all these kids how to kill with a knife, and then she gave Lizzie a knife. That was what this season was about early on. And she just kept focusing on, you need to go with your gut, and you got to act fast, and just like all this stuff that kind of, you could argue, led up to the moment of Lizzie killing Miko with this knife. And it's sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy. She was doing all this to protect these kids and also to protect herself from never having to go through losing a kid again. And then she loses two at once, and one by her own hand. It's really sad and horrible and heartbreaking.
yeah.
I think that's a reasonable determination, that it's possible that her actions played a part in this. And not just her. I mean, she's not the only adult pushing kids to learn this stuff.
No. And she has a point too. You do
Yeah.
need to learn, but she should have asked the other parents. And also, like, what on the other side of that debate for me is, Lizzie's so far gone that I don't know if there's anything anybody could have done to have changed what happened here, So I don't know.
I think they're very, very clear that there is nothing else that can be done with Lizzie at this point. I don't think Carol or Tyrese would ever do what they did without thinking that. Because I think, even though I think Carol always has justifications in her head for things, but I think the taking of a child's life, you have to be absolutely, I say that like that's a thing people are going to do. I'm like, when you do that, you have to be certain.
Just make sure, listeners.
Yeah, just, take note. I do think they laid a lot of groundwork in this episode that, like, there is nothing that can be done here, particularly when there's a baby around. I think if Judith wasn't there, the arithmetic changes a little bit.
But the question is whether what they did before this in some way caused the situation, or if it doesn't matter what they would have done, eventually something like this would have happened. You know what I mean?
You mean they like primed the pump? They were like, we're going to teach you how to use a knife.
Yeah. And give her a knife and tell her, act fast, follow your gut, be strong, don't be afraid to kill, etc., etc.
I don't think so, because I think what we don't see Lizzie do to Mika, but what we can infer from the text that we see on screen, is that it was a deliberate and methodical killing, and that's not what she's been trained to do. She's been trained to defend herself. And
probably go for the brain, too.
Yeah, and I think giving her the knife, no one thought Lizzie was going to do what she did. I can't fault them for it, because I think leaving her without a knife and leaving them on their own would have been more irresponsible. So I can imagine having those kind of doubts were I Carol, but as a viewer of it, I don't hold her at fault for that.
Mhm.
If that makes
But
sense.
do vet your babysitters, though.
Do vet your
I
babysitters.
think they could have. I mean, after somewhere up until this point, they could have decided that it was not a good idea to leave the kids by themselves, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Carol's sitting here saying, I should have known, I should have seen it. And and then when she's saying that, I'm sort of like, yeah, maybe you were too focused on like, you got to make these little killing machines so that you didn't see, Lizzie's a special case.
But Lizzie bought their trust. This is a crucial thing. Lizzie killed a walker the night before. So as far
That's
as they're
true.
concerned, Lizzie is on side now. If she hadn't done that, I would be like, yeah, what are you doing? But Lizzie seems to have, and this is what makes Lizzie especially scary because she is saying the things and doing the things that she knows she needs to do to get
Yeah.
what she wants. But she has said, I will kill them. I've done it. You've
Yeah.
seen me do it.
Like even when she says, I know to Tyrese as he's about to kill the one on the track, she says, I know we have to kill him sometimes, but not all the time. I'm thinking inside her head, she's going, I never want you to kill one, but I know I have to say this to get your
She's
trust.
just trying to bargain with him so he doesn't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have some pieces of that I thought, like, I feel like the show was trying to say that Lizzie was mentally ill and that regardless of the zombie apocalypse that she grew up in, like this was always going to happen. Carol says it was already there, but I don't think that's necessarily true. Like, I think Lizzie is traumatized. She, grew up in the zombie apocalypse, right? She was probably Carl's age. Is that right? About
I think
Carl's
so.
age?
I think
So-
Carl's a little older because Carl and Lizzie do interact, and he's a little older, but close, maybe a couple years
so
apart.
probably like 6, 7 when this happened.
Mhm.
Like, that's a lot to deal with all by itself. Then she lost her mom. I don't think we know how she lost her mom. Then she lost her dad to the prison where everybody was sick.
Right.
She was in the quarantine. She's been through a lot, and I think she's really traumatized. She doesn't understand that she doesn't understand where the line is. These are people. They're walking around. They're people that she knows used to be regular people just like her at one point. And saying it's okay to kill them, but it's not okay to kill other people. I think it all gets really confusing to these little not fully formed brains. And I think it's obvious that she was very, very confused about the whole process, and they probably should not have armed her or left her alone. And I know that's hard to do. There's only 2 of them. They got to sleep sometime, but I still think they could have given it some more time.
I think the leaving her alone is the key point there, especially with a baby. Like watching this episode, I was like, please get away from Judith, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we had already seen her almost suffocate Judith earlier this season.
And she just killed a real live person only about a week ago at the beginning of when the prison fell. And I've never killed someone, but I'm betting that in any context, that's pretty tough to grapple with, even as a grown up. And she's just a little kid. So I was just thinking that they spend a lot of time in this episode talking about how Mika doesn't want to hurt people. And I wondered if Lizzie just saw it as eventually we're going to be killed and eaten by zombies no matter what we do, as she has seen this repeatedly over and over and over again, that happens. And maybe she saw what she was doing to Lizzie as a way to save her and protect her. And I know that's not right, but I'm saying I think that's how her little brain was making this right in her. She Mika was saying over and over again that she didn't want to hurt people and she didn't want to be mean and do these things. And I was thinking maybe that was Lizzie's way, because the girls were very close as sisters. They loved each other.
Mm-hmm.
I loved when the zombie came lurching out of the Or I think it was before that, right? Tyrese and Carol went into the house to see if there was any zombies there, and
Yeah, and the zombie comes out the side door.
But before that, Lizzie was like, they're gonna find one in there, and they're probably gonna kill it, and she was upset, and Mika's like, we've been naming them, but that was just a game. They're not okay. They're not good. They want to kill us or whatever, and they're bad. And Lizzie looked over at her and goes, that's what you say, but you guys are wrong. Just the way she said it was very much how siblings talk to each other. On the page, it could have been, that's what you say, but you're wrong. And she was just like, you're a fucking idiot.
And she's looking at the little shoes on the gravestone, and she knows like that was a kid or a baby. And now that's where they are. They're under the earth, in the ground, dead. And I think in some way she thought that she was saving Mika. By doing what she did.
It's interesting. I mean, I was trying to think when this stuff came up earlier this season, what exactly is going on with her. She has emotional dysregulation issues where when things get too intense, she starts to like hyperventilate almost. And that's why she has to look at the flowers and breathe slowly just to calm her nervous system down. And that's similar to strategies used with kids today. Bodhi gets some of that sometimes.
I mean, I use that on adults.
Yeah, right. Use it on myself. But also, she's delusional, and she hears voices. She said she hears them talking to her. And so just my armchair psychology, I'm like, maybe this is sort of a coping mechanism for the horrors of the apocalypse to try to make it seem not so bad, that you just turn these monsters into benign creatures. And so from that frame, if that's how she's coping, then she sees people killing them. Then her mind has to decide, okay, wait, is this really a horrible place with monsters? I don't want to face that. So that means that these people are killing my friends. And it's just such a hard thing to have to be a part of. And then to see Carol, like she told Carol told her to knife her dad in the head so he wouldn't turn into a zombie, and she was going to do it but couldn't bring herself to, and then Carol did it right in front of her, and then it's just like all this trauma upon trauma that she has to process. All of that on top of she told Tyrese told Carol that Lizzie told him that she had killed that rabbit and posted it up to the board or whatever just for fun. So that's psychotic. That's like a break from reality. So there's just so much going on here. Yeah. It's like, how do you deal with that?
I think it could be early schizophrenia, something like that. But I just don't think there's enough evidence to know that like this is something that was underlying the whole time, or that this is a result probably growing bigger and bigger as time goes by, a result of all the trauma that she's been through.
Yeah. Triggered by, I just saw, this is not exactly totally related, but something came up in the news about this guy who's a tech investor. He's big in the tech community, and he has been using ChatGPT a lot, and it is sycophantic. It really just reinforces whatever you put into it, and it like says you're good and stuff because they want you to keep using it. And he and it mirrors your style and everything. And he had all these paranoid delusions and was putting it in there, and it was mirroring it back to him in his own style. And he started posting about it on Twitter, and he's just like having a public psychotic break. And then more news comes out of more this kind of thing happening to more people using ChatGPT. Yeah. So it's like something that needs to be addressed. Like I said, not totally related, but I'm just thinking about triggering psychotic breaks. It's crazy.
Yeah. It's the potential of what ChatGPT and other LLMs can do through mirroring is pretty scary.
Yeah. It really is. Yeah.
I think with Lizzie, within the logic of the show, she's too far gone. I think that's what they try and hammer home to us. I don't think we're meant to leave this episode as viewers with any dubiety that there was a chance of saving her. And it's so sinister, the way she's that whole scene. I think the one that freaked me out the most in this whole episode is when she looks at Judith and says, "I was just about to," and then Carol kind of cuts her off, and like that's the point where you're like, there's nothing you are now no
Yeah.
longer, you're activated. You're no longer right. You cannot be around this child.
Chilling too. What a moment.
Oh,
Yeah.
when
Ugh.
Carol says she can't even walk yet with that little break in her voice.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
And I remember, I probably have mentioned this many times on the podcast, but afterwards, we had a whole weekend with Brighton Charbonneau and Kyla Kennedy. And then at the convention, not being able to talk about this episode. And then a bunch of us watched it Sunday night together, like, oh my God, they knew that was going to happen and they couldn't say anything. And then we all got together for a live Walker Stalker podcast. And there were, I don't know, like 50 people there in the audience, and they all agreed that Carol did the right thing, some more sheepishly than others, but nobody. And then Lou Temple came in, the guy who played Axel, and he was pissed. I think maybe I don't know. I wonder if he has a child that had some problems or something, but he was like, you don't just throw a kid away or something like that. And that made me think like, oh my God, yeah, maybe I was too quick to say that Carol did the right thing. But what I've come to is that like, it's hard. And yeah, they just don't have the facilities, as I said, that we have to deal with this kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have therapy, or they're on the road. There's monsters everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they have to protect this baby.
Yeah, that's the thing. The baby is the factor that I think really, really skews it one way or the other. It's not like, it's like the chicken, the fox, and the grain, right? Like you've got two adults, a baby, and a child who's not safe to be on her own with the baby. So one of you is always going to have to be with the baby, and one of you is always going to have to be with the child. So how does that work? How does anyone ever rest? How does it just becomes impossible. It's brutal, but it is impossible.
So much
Temple,
fun.
if you're listening, right? And like,
yeah,
we'd love to hear your take. We're just going to go and stare into space now and think about how terrible the world is, because it is.
Yeah, I mean, Carol's still alive, at least.
Yeah.
Trying to think of some positives. That
Judith too. Judith, I mean, it was worth it for Judith. Come
That's
now.
right.
She's great.
Yes, I know. And to think back on this, like, oh my God, Lizzie almost killed Judith. And then poor Brighton Charbonneau got death threats because of this. An 11-year-old girl.
Something that always does take me out of The Walking Dead slightly is when they have baby Judith, who's always like the cutest little chubby bubba in the world. Like she's got like the cute little legs in the face. I'm like, I just don't think she would be that well fed. I'm like, and I'm not fat shaming a baby. She's adorable. She's a perfect baby. But I am like, yeah, she seems pretty well fed for an apocalypse baby who's not had any baby food in a while. But it would be pretty depressing to show.
Yeah. I was thinking also, like, they don't spend enough time showing people boiling water, which is what I feel like would be the majority of your time spent doing.
Yeah, boiling water, right? Boiling water and having bad stomachs. Like, I kept thinking that last week with Daryl and Beth, like, eating a full jar of jam and peanut butter. I was like, oh no, oh God, that's going to come right through. Oh no, yuck. This is what a rewatch is for, is wondering when people go to the bathroom.
Yeah, right. Where did they, in that little idyllic house in the middle of the grove, did they have to like go out back behind the trees or what?
Yeah.
I guess so.
I do still love this dark humor idea that like Tyrese and Carol misunderstood what they'd agreed to. So when Tyrese is looking out the window, he's like, so great that Carol's going to go and talk to Lizzie. And then he's like, oh, fuck. That's not what I thought was going to happen.
He's like, wait, that's not what I meant.
No, I meant go outside and like take care of her, not take care of her. Like,
and when that moment comes, like I said, this whole thing is this tension between this possible hope that they could get through their problems and settle in this great place, and then the fear that it would all just come crashing down. And right when they're at like peak hope enough where Lizzie seems to have said, okay, I understand what I have to do. Little do they know what she really meant by that. And then Carol is relaxed enough that she starts making dirty jokes to Tyrese. That's like
just
the
under
peak,
a buck.
like everything is fine, and that's right when they discover Lizzie there with her bloody knife after having just. And I was like, "What? Oh my God, no! Where's the baby?"
Oh, that I remember watching it the first time round. My first thought being like, "Where's Judith? Where's Judith? Where's Judith?"
It was terrible.
Judith's supposed to be dead in the comics by now, and I remember being surprised that they didn't kill her off. So yeah, I'm very glad they didn't. Very glad.
Yes.
Bloody hell. Could you imagine? Whew. Anyway.
Oh, man. Yeah.
No, I can't. No.
Maybe I'd stop watching.
I mean, I think we thought she was dead for an episode, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we did.
The bloody cradle or car seat.
Yeah. And I think it's also interesting that we're in the zombie apocalypse, so like the number one enemy is the zombies, but then of course they're coming from the prison that fell because of people, and they're going to Terminus, which isn't going to be great because of people. But in the middle there is like it's coming from them, like it's coming from inside the house, their problems.
Yeah.
So what Wendy's saying is the zombies are actually nice.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I mean, Gareth from Terminus was right. His brother and mother are dead because of Rick. Like, Rick is the common factor here, people. Like,
yep. Everything was fine. It was going great.
Everything was fine. If we remove Rick from the Walking Dead universe, things might be a bit better. Just saying.
All
right. Do either one of you have any big points?
I did love the sandwiching of the episode through I think you talked about it, the beginning where, we see this idyllic little homesteading place with all the adorable things and versus the end where you see the rag doll discarded on the living room floor and the pecan treats.
So good.
And the grave with the baby booties. It was just so, I loved that. I love those little attention to details that they do so often.
Yeah, it just felt like, okay, this dream is dead.
I wish, if anything, I would have cut the voiceover. I thought the voiceover worked, but I was like, you could cut that. It would.
I didn't understand. Yeah, it really would have been more powerful without it, I think.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah. They didn't need it.
Really noticed the reemergence of, I don't know if it's Carol's theme or whatever, but there's this violin thing that happens when she's feeling a really strong emotion. And when Lizzie and Tyrese walk away and she suddenly kind of breaks looking at Mika, it came in and I was like, oh, that's a great musical cue.
It actually, when I was listening to it, it sort of reminded, I've been rewatching House of the Dragon too. It sort of reminded me of the Game of Thrones, musical interludes.
Yeah. There's such a kind of rural American folk horror to this. Like, it reminded me a lot of, at the start with that 1950s music, it's something that was quite, I don't know, it was like a couple of very notable episodes of The X-Files using that kind of cozy Americana as something quite terrifying. And Jason spoke about the visual of Lizzie and I think she calls her Mary, I can't remember, the walker chasing each other. There was a teaser trailer recently for a horror film called, is it Weapons? And the whole teaser trailer is just like ring camera footage of creepy child silhouettes running in the dark. And I was like, you could do so much with a slightly uncanny silhouette or something creepy. And somehow it's even sadder and more sinister when you see the same landscape with no bodies in it, no living figures at the end of the episode.
Lifeless.
Yeah. Lizzie fully throws Tyrese under the bus by being like, oh, by the way, I saved Tyrese.
Yeah, that's right.
Like, he was doing nothing. I saved him. I was
mean,
like,
I think that's, because